Welcome to the December 20th, 2022 meeting of the Fitchburg City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I would ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting, please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating their name and city of residence. Seeing none, at this time I ask that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode, and I would ask that everyone join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President Zarella.
Here.
Councilor Boschman.
Here.
Councilor Kuchar.
Here.
Councilor Cragen.
Here.
Councilor Cruz.
Here remotely.
Councilor Di Natale.
Here.
Councilor Fleming.
Here.
Councilor Green.
Here.
Councilor Schultz.
Here.
Councilor Squire.
Present.
Councilor Van Haasinger.
Here.
We have 11 members present.
Thank you very much. The public had been advised to contact the clerk's office regarding comments of no more than 2 minutes remotely. None have been brought to our attention. If there is any person in the audience wishing to comment on any item on the agenda, please approach the center podium, identify yourself by name and city of residence, and the item on the agenda on which you wish to speak, and you may address the council for not more than 2 minutes. Welcome.
Nobody wants to be first. My name is Michael Donnelly, and I live at 883 Mount Elam Road. And I'm here to reference the petition 271.22. While I have the mic, I want to share with you my role as a Conservation Commission volunteer. With no formal environmental education, just a love for all things wild and clean water. Wetlands, found throughout the state in the Berkshires. They clean our drinking water supplies, they prevent flooding and storm damage, and they support a variety of wildlife. What are wetlands? Coastal wetlands, directly adjacent to the ocean. They include beaches, salt marshes, and dunes. Inland wetlands are areas where water is at or just below the surface of the ground, thusly wet land. They include marshes, wet meadows, bogs, and swamps. Today we recognize the benefits of wetlands, but that recognition's come a little bit late. Since colonial times, we've lost about 1/3 of Massachusetts wetlands. Concerned about those losses, Massachusetts developed the first wetlands protection laws in the early 1960s. Today, wetlands are protected by state and federal law. Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, protects wetlands and their public interests. They serve, including flood control, prevention of pollution and storm damage, and protection of public and private water supplies, groundwater supplies, fisheries, and shellfish and wildlife habitat. The public interests are protected by requiring a careful review of proposed work that may alter wetlands. The law protects not only wetlands, but other resource areas as well, such as land subject to flooding, the 100-year floodplains, and a riverfront area, which was added in the Rivers Protection Act in 1996. At the local level, community conservation commissions administer the Wetlands Protection Act. The commission is a volunteer board of 7 members appointed by the mayor. The Conservation Commission ensures that proposed activities will not alter resource areas and the public interest they provide by reviewing projects on a case-by-case basis. The regulations describe how each type of resource area provides one or more of the public interests. The regulations spell out the type and the extent of work allowed in the resource area. Proposed work must meet standards. The information helps landowners and developers plan their work and helps commissions apply the law to specific projects. The law regulates many types of work areas including vegetation removal, regrading work in a wetland resource area or within 100 feet of the area, called a buffer zone. The law languages any activity that would fill, excavate, or alter wetlands that may impair that function. So the Rivers Protection Act was passed in 1996, and it protects riverfront areas in a 200-foot zone. Excuse me. Many cities and towns have adopted
excuse
local
me,
wetlands laws
sir?
that are more restrictive.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
This is a very interesting topic, which I think we would probably love to have a presentation on at some point, but I do need to hold you to the same time standards as everyone else during public comment.
Sure. What have we got? Minute and a half?
No, I think you're a little over. But if you'd like to wrap up and tie it into the agenda item,
Sure,
you
I
can
can
go right ahead.
Sure, thank you. So we have a city ordinance, Chapter 171, that allows for community interests, watershed development, zoning table criteria. Let's see. Currently, the Conservation Commission has a paid secretary. That's good. How about this? We'll finish up. Conservation Commissions review any applications that will affect wetlands and may set certain conditions that the applicant must follow in order to protect wetlands or minimize the impact on wetlands functions. In conclusion, the Wetlands Protection Act and the Fitchburg Wetlands Ordinance are good planning tools. I'm asking that our city fathers and the council use those tools wisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment from the public? Seeing none, we will take the report of the Appointments Committee. Councilor Kuchar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Appointments Committee met earlier this evening for the reappointment to the Planning Board, term to expire December 31st of 2025, Lynn Butlin, and it was approved unanimously.
Move to accept the report.
Second.
On the motion, Councilor
I got one
Brochman.
question. I asked it before and I'll ask again. Since we're going to have a lot of appointees coming up this coming year, can we get a record of the boards that come in before us, if they've been on there, of their meetings, if they've been showing up or not?
Mean their
So we can
attendance?
vote wholeheartedly on it?
I don't know if that is contained anywhere centrally, but certainly all the meetings are posted. So I imagine you could go through the minutes and see who was in attendance at each one.
All right.
Any further questions or comments? I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, we will take this by unanimous consent. Seeing none, it is approved unanimously. Report of the Committee on Records. Councilor Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The records appear to be in order as of December 6th.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, it is unanimously approved. We have some communications from His Honor the Mayor. Linda Byrne as a member of the Fitchburg Housing Authority, reappointment as a member of the Fitchburg Housing Authority, term to expire December 1st, 2027. Reappointment of Joseph Byrne as a member of the ZBA, term to expire January 1st, 2027. A new appointment of Maribel Cruz as a member of the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority, term to expire July 1st, 2026. Colby O'Brien as a member of the Board of Park Commissioners, term to expire on the first of a month in 2028. That's all right. It'll go to appointments. Jennifer Brennan as the Executive Director of the Council on Aging, term to expire August 24th, 2025. And Elizabeth Murphy as Executive Director of Community Development and Planning, term to expire December 12th, 2025. Those will all stand referred to appointments. Report of the Finance Committee. Councilor Di Natale.
Thank you, Mr. President. December 14th, the Finance Committee met and took up two orders. 27822 was for $108,041.90 acceptance of a state Executive Office of Public Safety and Security grant to purchase body-worn cameras and accompanying hardware. This was 2 years of worth of discussions with the police union and the chief and the city in drafting policies for their use prior to this point. The procurement will include 93 cameras with 5-year warranties, including maintenance costs. Cloud storage of the footage taken will require a $133,000 annual investment that will be in the next fiscal operating budget, and the cameras will begin to be worn by officers beginning on July 2023. And that was adopted. 27922 was also adopted pursuant to Mass General Law 269 of the Acts of 2022. City Council approves the granting of a 5% cost of living adjustment as voted by the FCRB during a meeting held on the November 22nd, 2022. This cost of living adjustment involves 600 retirees in the city. Historically, the increase has been 3%, but due to inflation, this one-time increase to 5% was granted by the FRB and results in an extra $20 per month. The COLA adjustments are calculated off the first $12,000 of a retiree's full pension, not on the full value, and in this case, it would be a $420 increase for the year per retiree instead of $360, and that was adopted unanimously.
Move to accept the Finance Committee report.
Second.
I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, we will take this by unanimous consent. I thought that was a hand at first. That is a cat. No problem.
The cat objects.
It's all right. I won't rule the cat out of order. All right, so seeing no objection, the report of the Finance Committee is unanimously approved. We have a loan order in final reading.
Motion to send 27122 to its third and final reading.
Second.
And advertised.
I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, I will waive the actual reading of the loan order. Seeing none, the motion is before the council. All right. No, I'm sorry, Counselor?
We motioned to approve.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I was just checking to see if anyone had any comments on the motion. In that case, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President Zarella.
Yes.
Counselor Boishman.
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar.
Yes.
Counselor Cragan.
Yes.
Counselor Cruz.
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale.
Yes.
Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Squire.
Aye.
And Counselor Van Hazinga.
Yes.
That's 11 members' approval.
All right, unanimously approved. Next, we have an ordinance in final reading. 19022, that a vacant property registration be added to Chapter 137 of the Fitchburg City Code as outlined in the enclosed ordinance.
Move to send 19022 through its third and final reading, enrolled and dated and advertised.
Second.
Motion and second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President Zarella.
Yes.
Counselor Boishman.
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar.
Absolutely.
Counselor Cragan.
Yes.
Counselor Cruz.
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale.
Yes.
Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Squire.
Aye.
And Counselor Van Hazinga.
Yes.
Unanimously approved.
Thank you very much. Next, we have 3 petitions. Union Auto Repair to petition for a Class 2 dealer's license at 232 River Street. That'll be referred to Public Safety. Councilor Cruz to move the 0 Maverick Street property from the RFP process to side yard sales. Notes that this is to formally discuss the most optimal approach. That will stand referred to city property. Just a moment, please, Councilor Boishman. And Councilor Fleming to place Jersey barriers at the intersection of Townsend Street and Marshall Road to slow down cars taking a left-hand turn from Townsend to Marshall. That will be sent to Public Safety and Public Works. Councilor Boishman, you had a question.
Yes, I was going to ask a couple questions on this 284. I thought we voted on this because we had a big debate in city properties on this same property. And we voted for going to a side yard, not the side yard sales, to go into an RFP to be sold. The whole council voted on the same thing.
That may very well be true. Counselor Squalia?
That is true, and wouldn't it require a motion to reconsider in order to reconsider the vote? And wouldn't that need to happen according to the rules?
So if this was sent to the I believe the council's vote, if I'm recalling its language correctly, and feel free if you happen to remember, Ms. Murphy, to correct me, I believe the council's language was to authorize the Community Development Department to develop a proposal. So there is technically nothing inconsistent in this motion with advising that it be sent to side yard sales. However, I will note that I do recall discussing it fairly extensively. So I would personally, and this of course goes to the council's discretion, personally I would send it to city property, but I would advise the councilor to discuss it with some of the city property members beforehand and see if this is something that actually needs to be relitigated, so to speak. Councilor Squalia?
So I have it was 23622. Tom Skorowski is requesting the city council declare the following property surplus and dispose of it through RFP, 0 Maverick Street.
Gotcha.
And then we discussed which method, if we wanted RFP, and we ultimately did vote to approve the RFP process.
So I think in that case, you are both probably correct in this, in that it has been decided by the council, and absent new information from community development indicating that there needs to be a change of some sort, we can't take it up again after the reconsideration period has expired.
Could we ask Liz Murphy if that's the case?
I would be more than happy to hear her opinion on this.
Thank you. We've heard from one of the abutters who is very concerned about a buildable lot and a building happening in what would be her front yard, basically. Because of the location of the lot, we understand that there may be some interest from the daycare in part of that property for parking, which is sorely needed there because right now they are parking on the street and on the sidewalk mostly. So both of those things could happen through an RFP, whether the owner of each abutting property wanted to put in a proposal for those types of uses for their own personal uses, but I wasn't a part of the conversation, so I wasn't aware of the extensive discussion that may have happened in that last council meeting related to whether RFP or side yard sale was the most appropriate vehicle to dispose of the property. Now that I understand that there was extensive discussion, I don't know how Councilor Cruz feels. Perhaps this is something that we should withdraw. But I know the owner that is a residential owner that abuts is very upset about the idea of somebody building a house in front of her property. And I do understand that. And so my thought is having a discussion about the pros and cons of meeting the neighborhood needs versus the individual needs. It does sound like maybe that happened, and I just wasn't privy to that. So I apologize if that was the case. I don't know, Derek, if there's anything that you would add to that.
President,
Just a moment, Counselor. You've gone already. I have a couple people ahead of you.
I understand.
Councilor Cruz has his hand up.
Yes, and before him, I had Counselor Gianatali.
Well, I was just going to ask, through you, Mr. President, the Councilor Cruz, like, can he explain what his motivation for this was? Did he, I'm just, maybe he knows about all this already. I don't know. I want to hear, why did he put this forward since we already acted on it?
By all means, Counselor Cruz.
City Property Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So essentially, and I was sort of going to bring a presentation of city property and explain sort of the history of the property and its delay. It's been in limbo for the better part of 2 decades now. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Murphy, but there has been no submissions for request for proposal yet beyond the abutter. And it's Whether or not the RFP process is essentially working out at this point is up for discussion, I think, and whether or not it's side yard sale is more appropriate at this point. We originally was brought up and approved on October 4th by City Council, and there have been no proposals brought forward.
Yeah, it hasn't actually gone out for proposal yet, so, but there has been no interest other than one of the abutters.
So, Councilor Green.
So when we make decisions on side yard sales versus RFPs, all the abutters, even during RFPs, have the process to bid on properties. And where this is essentially a buildable lot, if there is a developer or somebody who wants to build on that property because it meets all the setbacks, it meets the requirement for a buildable lot, if that particular abutter was interested at that point, they would have an opportunity to bid on it, way more than the $300 for the side yard. I mean, and especially if we are, formally discuss the most optimal approach for selling the property, it would be through an RFP where any and all who may have an interest in it have an opportunity to bid, and a fair bid, versus allowing one or two abutters to scoop up this property for $300 because nobody else wants it. I mean, I think we have to put it out to bid and see what the feel of the land is for it before we make offers or make accommodations for one or two particular abutters.
So a couple things I'd like to add. One is just to clarify, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the bid process and the RFP process are not exactly the same. Putting in an RFP proposal is not quite the same as bidding on it at auction, but it's close. So in the interest of not taking up this item tonight, which is not slated to be taken up tonight, I will note that I think procedurally it is correct that we can't reconsider this at this time. And further, I'm not sure, given that it is a buildable lot, I don't believe it is eligible under the side yard sales ordinance for inclusion in that program. And I apologize personally to Councilor Cruz for not having caught this ahead of time and given him a call. But I would encourage that this be discussed maybe offline with the Community Development Department so that the RFP can capture the concerns of abutters and neighbors, and so that when we go to that process, it can accomplish all those goals without, again, giving away a buildable lot for $300. If that is, Councilor Boschman?
Mr. Chair, I raised the question because I fought like heck to keep that property on the school and split it, but I got shot down. And when I got shot down, I was upset because I had pictures to show the school needed it, and I kept on.
I understand.
But I'll tell you what I would do, and I don't mind. If she can come back and she tells us that the school's interested because they're parked on the streets, I got pictures to prove it, and help the other lady, I won't put up a big stink about going to a side yard sale if it's split that way.
Right. So, Councilor, again, the ruling at the moment is that this is not a matter that we can take up at this time. It would have to go through a drastically different procedure to come in front of us again. And also, again, I would welcome correction from Community Development or the Legal Department, but I do not believe that this particular lot is eligible for
Can I make
side
a
yard
motion,
sales.
lead to withdraw?
Just a moment. Councilor Squalia?
The lot is 7,085 square feet, and according to the procedure on the ordinances, if a lot is comprised of less than 10,000 square feet, City Council may vote to designate the
Gotcha.
property to side yard sales.
Thank you for checking that. Councilor Cragan, did you have something to add?
I was looking back in my own notes, and the words of the previous community development director was, this is a developable parcel through infill provisions, and that it can't just be given to a side yard program. So we discussed
Gotcha.
this back in September or so.
Right, so,
Seems-
again, in that case, if we can just proceed on this, there is actually no need for a motion for leave to withdraw, because the petition is, I hesitate to say ruled out of order, because I don't want to make it sound condemnatory of Councilor Cruz's efforts. It is not intended to be a reprimand of any sort, but for procedural purposes, it is being ruled out of order and therefore stricken from our agenda. Counselor, if you would like to give me a call at some time in the near future, we can certainly discuss how to address any concerns you may still have on this matter. That covers all items on our agenda. We have 2 announcements. The next meeting of the Widowed Helping Widowed support group will take place on Thursday, December 29th, 2022, from 4 until 5:30 p.m. in room 203 at the Fitchburg State University Recreation Center, 130 North Street. Kelly Lynn and Bernie Schultz will co-facilitate. Ward 1 Councilor Bernie Schultz is hosting a Ward 1 community meeting Thursday, January 12th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Legislative Building. City of Fitchburg Manager of Information Technology, Trevor Bonilla, and City Editor for the Sentinel Enterprise, Jake Vitale, will make presentations and answer questions following their presentations. Our next meeting will be our organizational meeting at 10 a.m. on January 3rd, and our next regular meeting will be at 7 p.m. that same day. That concludes our business for the evening.
Mr. President, you don't mind if I wish the people a Merry Christmas?
I
Mr.
certainly do
Scrooge,
not.
And my fellow councilors too, from Mr. Scrooge.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. If there is no objection, we are adjourned, and I would also like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and the joy of any other holiday you happen to celebrate.